Man, what's going on, everybody? Let's see how many people we got in here, man. We got 5 people in here so far, man. Please smash the like button if you haven't. If you have not shared this out, please do. Man, there's going to be some changes you guys are going to notice with the moderators. I do apologize. It's nothing personal. And please don't take it that way. It's that I can contact some people personally off of YouTube, and some people I'm not in contact with off of YouTube. And it just makes it much easier for me to have moderators that I can contact and be in contact with. So that's all it was. It's and also people that have been here for a very long time. So please don't take it personal. It's just some growing pains that we need to go through, and it's something I had to do. This fucking shirt is driving me nuts. So, anyways, I want to go over the Alaskan Avengers interview. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and read up on him so you guys have an understanding of who he is. And he does have a YouTube channel. It is in the description below. I please tap in, subscribe. This man has been through a lot, and I'm gonna read some of it to you right now, and then we're gonna watch his interview and react to it live. Before I do, I'll just do a real quick roll call for the people that are in the chat. Blue, I see you, brother. Hillbilly, man, much love. Justified, good to see you. And listen, we're not going to entertain no drama over here. If I got something that I need to say, I'll make a video about it or a live about it and come with facts and deal with it the way I feel I need to deal with it. All right. But other than that, we're not going to entertain nonsense over here. We're moving ahead and past that. So that's my focus and my goal here, and to bring together the prison genre and start pushing the content like we used to, and really putting meaning behind this as there used to be before all this shit happened and everything got watered down. Okay, so that's my goal here. Solid behind blue eyes. How you doing? It's good to see you. Man, I send my utmost to you and Two Scoops, to you and Brent. I hope you guys are hanging in there. I hope he's hanging in there. My prayers go out to him. Um, I don't know if you saw, but the other morning, or the other, actually it was afternoon, I covered the assault that happened against Ronnie Yandell in New Folsom by those creep officers. And it was heartbreaking to see him and see what happened to him, man. And so, anyways, yeah, we spoke on that and just the corruption behind the walls that people don't see. And we're going to start bringing light to that, man. We are. And also, something else I want to start doing is I have a cellie, couple cellies that had life. And I have some people that I know from in there that had life and that got out. And, they got out through the parole board. And I'm going to have them on here to speak as to what the parole board expects. You know what I mean? And I have no idea what they expect because I wasn't a lifer. And that's why I want to bring somebody on that has been through the parole board and to explain what they expect, because I don't know. And I think there's people that may need that information out there that may be curious to know what they expect. You know what I mean? So I figured I'd bring that on. Yeah, definitely solid behind blue eyes. There's a lot more I want to bring attention to. I want to speak on Brant's case, but I want to make sure I have his green light to do so. But yeah, I definitely want to speak on that because what happened to Brant is just, it's unjustified, and it's a sad story, man. And if people understand what it's like in the California Department of Corrections, they can understand Brant's story even more, Um, for somebody that don't understand the California Department of Corrections or how it works, it's hard for people to understand Brant's story even deeper. And that's kind of like what I want to bring to the table too with his story when I am able to cover it if possible. Um, but anyways, let me go ahead and bring this up. This is an article. Oh, before I do that, man, I don't know if you all saw, but Splinter and Vegas Profile Stories did a live last night. I shared it. It's in the community section, man. Them two characters up there had me rolling on the floor, man. Hey, Splinter is a nut, boy. So please go check it out. It's in the community section, man. It was an amazing live last night. I've been in contact with Splinter, and I'm hoping I'm going to go ahead and interview Splinter. And for those that don't know, when I interview somebody, I interview them. Like last night with Rick and Splinter, that was more of just a hanging out, vibing and chilling kind of vibe. When I interview somebody, I interview them, man. Like I want to know what your childhood was like, how was your family? You know what I mean? What age did you jump off the porch and hit the streets and start acting a fool? And how was that like? You know what I mean? Did you go to juvenile hall? What was the halls like? You know what I mean? Like those, I'm gonna ask questions and let the man speak and hear his story. And that's my goal with my interview with Splinter. Like I said, what Vegas and him did last night wasn't an interview. That was just two white dudes kicking it, chalking it up. So two totally different things on what I'm trying to do. Yeah, he's a nut, man. Splinter is a nut. He's awesome, man. And then also, I shared in the community section, Facts Stranger Than Fiction. New York is going live tonight. I don't know what the live is going to be about, so I'm not going to be on the panel, but I don't know what it's going to be about. But the thumbnail has me cracking up. Okay, so I can imagine it's probably going to be pretty funny, and it might be a little wild. So that's in the community sections tonight. 7:40, I think, is when he's going live. So tap in, man. Show some love. Facts way stranger than fiction. Yeah, he can be a hoot, man. He can be wild. But we're gonna start off with this article to give everybody a little bit of understanding of the Alaskan Avenger. So this is an article, and then we'll go over the video. A victim of childhood SA and physical abuse, Jason Vukovic decided to get revenge on SOs by becoming a PDF hunter known as the Alaskan Avenger. Now, this is all alleged, and this is what the article says. This is not what I say. Okay, I'm reading an article. Okay, and everything that I read is alleged. And I want to say that too. Anything that I speak on my channel, one, I don't put enough information out there for anything to be. But not only that, everything's already adjudicated. What I speak about on here are things that have happened, and they've already went to court a long, long time ago, and have all that. But I don't even use names or anything of that, locations when I'm telling stories. So I'm just saying, like, this is all alleged here. This is an article that I'm reading. So, in 2016, Jason Vukovic, the Alaskan Avenger, tracked down a number of SOs listed on the nation's public registry and attacked them, allegedly. Vukovic reported that he felt an overwhelming desire to act because of his own history of abuse at the hands of his adopted father. And we're going to get into that in the interview. This interview is very interesting. He's very candid. And for those that don't know, I was molested as a child. So, by a teacher in elementary school, a sick, sick individual. So his quest to seek justice for others thus led him to a short career in vigilantism. Now in prison, which he's no longer in prison. He's out now, thank God. But now in prison, the Alaskan Avenger has since publicly denounced his actions and urged victims like him to seek therapy over retribution. Okay, you got to understand, this man was in prison. He had been in prison for a number of years, and he wants to come home. Again, board wants certain things from you, and sometimes it's things that you don't want to say. Sometimes it's things you may not even really believe in your heart. But hey, you got to play their game sometimes. It's not fair. Not at all. Should you have to do so? No. But that's what they want. They want you to play their game. One of the men he attacked has stated that Vukovic should serve his prison sentence in full, while others have called for his release. This is his controversial true story. Jason Vukovic was a victim of childhood SA. Born in Anchorage, Alaska on June 25th, 1975, to a single mother, Jason Vukovic was later adopted by his mother's new husband, Larry Lee Fulton. And I know he likes that name to be said, Larry Lee Fulton. But instead of his guardian, Fulton became Vukovic's abuser. Both of my parents were dedicated Christians and had us in every church service available, 2 or 3 each week, Vukovic later wrote in a letter to the Anchorage Daily News. So you can imagine the horror and confusion I experienced when this man who adopted me began using late night prayer sessions to essay me. In addition to essay, Fulton used violence against Vukovic. He beat the child with pieces of wood and whipped him with belts. Hold on, real quick, guys. Let me put this up. And this is strong language, so discretion advised. 18 above. In addition to essay, Fulton used violence against Vukovic. He beat the child with pieces of wood and whipped him with belts. Years later, at Vukovic's trial, his brother testified about what they had suffered as boys. We'd roll over on the bunk beds and be up against the wall, said Joel Fulton. It was my job to go first so he would leave Jason alone. Their father was charged in second-degree abuse of a minor in 1989, but he served no prison time. And according to Vukovic, no one ever came to check in on the family afterward. So in other words, he was allowed to go back with this man. He served no prison time, and the boys were allowed to go back, and nobody ever checked on him. The abuse continued until Vukovic was 16 years old, at which point he had his brother ran away. Still underage, Vukovic moved to Washington State with no identification of financial recourse. He turned to thievery to survive and built a rap sheet with local cops. Vukovic admitted that his descent into crime fit into a cycle of self-hatred and had started during his childhood abuse. My silent understanding that I was worthless, a throwaway, the foundations laid in my youth never went away. I spoke about this the other day on a live, that I often blamed myself growing up as a child for the abuses that I experienced, for my father being absent, for my mother being a drug addict. For the things that happened to me in life, I would blame myself, and it's ironic and strange and just actually not really. That he did the same thing. I think most of us that were abused felt like something was wrong with us. By then, Jason Vukovic had a criminal record spanning from Washington and Oregon to Idaho, Montana, and California. Around 2008, he moved back home to Alaska. There, he racked up a number of criminal charges, including theft, possession of a controlled substance, and assault of his then wife, which Vukovic denies. Again, all this is alleged. In 2016, Vukovic's untreated childhood trauma reached a boiling point. He began to read through the sex offender SO registry of Alaska and decided to get his own brand of justice. In June of 2016, Jason Vukovic sought out 3 men who were listed in their Alaskan sex SO registry for crimes related to children. Gripping a notebook filled with the names and addresses of the SOs he found on the public index, Vukovic targeted the homes of Charles Albee, address Barbosa, and Wesley Demarest. The Alaskan Avenger knocked on Albee's door first on the morning of June 24th, 2016. He pushed the 68-year-old inside and ordered him to sit on his bed. Vukovic slapped Albee across the face several times and told him how he'd found his address and that he knew what Albee had done. Then Vukovic simply robbed him and left. 2 days later, this is all alleged again, Vukovic used the same method to enter Barbosa's home. This time, however, he appeared at 4 a.m. and brought 2 female accomplices. Vukovic threatened the 25-year-old registered PDF with a hammer, told him to sit down, and punched him in the face. Before warning him, he would bash his dome in. A later Bell memorandum revealed that Vukovic stated he was there to collect what Barbosa owed. As one of the 2 women filmed the incident with her cell phone, Vukovic and the other woman then robbed Barbosa and stole several items, including the man's truck. The third time, Volkovich went after one of his targets. He escalated the violence. Demarest heard somebody breaking into his home, and around 1 a.m., yet again, Volkovich had knocked on the door and then forced himself inside, again, allegedly. He told me to lay down on my bed, and I said no, Demarest recalled. He said, get on your knees. He said, no. Volkovich struck Demarest in the face with his hammer. During the assault, Volkovich told his victim, I am the avenging angel. I'm going to mete out justice for the people you hurt. This is all alleged again. Jason Vukovic stole an assortment of items, including a laptop, and fled. Waking up in his own blood, Demarest called the police. It didn't take long for authorities to find the perpetrator, as Vukovic was sitting in his Honda Civic nearby with a hammer, stolen goods, and a notebook containing the names of 3 assault victims. Jason Vukovic repents for his actions. Jacob Volkovich was arrested on the spot and later charged with 18 counts of assault, robbery, burglary, and theft. He initially pleaded not guilty, but opted to make a deal with the prosecution instead. Volkovich pled guilty for first-degree attempted assault and consolidated count of first-degree robbery. In exchange, prosecutors dismissed over a dozen additional charges. This led to his sentence in 2018 of 28 years in prison, with 5 years suspended and another 5 on probation. In his 2017 letter of the Anchorage Daily News, Volkovich clarified his brutal motivations and regrets. I thought back to my experiences as a child. I took matters into my own hands and assaulted 3 PDFs, he wrote. If you have already lost your youth, like me, due to a child abuser, please do not throw away your present and your future by committing acts of violence. Volkovich appealed his sentence on the grounds that his post-traumatic stress disorder should be considered in mitigating factors in his case, but he lost the bid in October 2020. Despite his hero status among some Alaskans, the judge ruled vigilantism won't be accepted in our society. Jason Vukovich's final victim, Wesley Demarest, has publicly expressed his relief that Vukovich is behind bars, adding that he would prefer if Vukovich wasn't walking around while I'm alive. Yeah, of course, you creep. One article written about Demarest's reaction remarks dryly, one must wonder if his victims feels the same. Yeah, imagine that. Yeah, I wonder if the... Now 70 years old, Demarest struggles to form coherent sentences. He has also lost his job in wake of the traumatic brain injury he sustained at Vukovich's hands. It's just pretty well destroyed my life, he said. I wonder about those young kids' lives that you destroyed, you creep. So he got what he wanted, I guess. What about those kids? Did they get what they wanted? Volkovich's attorney, Amber Tilton, meanwhile, shares the views of thousands who have pledged their support for his client on several online petition sites, pleading for his release to them. Cynically, the cyclicality of violence and trauma is unlikely to end by keeping victims turned criminals in jail. I don't think he needs to be punished, said Tilton. He's already been punished. This whole thing started out as the punishment of a child who didn't deserve to be treated this way. Jason Vukovich has urged others who have been victims of childhood SA to seek inner peace and reject vigilante justice. I began my life sentence many, many years ago. It was handed down to me by an ignorant, hateful, poor substitute for a father, he wrote. I now face losing most of the rest of my life due to a decision to lash out at people like him. To all those who have suffered like I have, love yourself and those around you. This is truly the only way forward. Okay, so now let's go ahead and watch the documentary and interview that he did. But before I do that, let me go ahead and get in the chat and say what's up to everybody. I know there's some new people in here. Hillbilly, what's going on? Dirty Weather, man, what's going on, brother? I hope you're doing well, man. I saw a little bit of your live the other night, man. Salute to you, man. I hope all is good. Um, Let me see here. Casper, man, good to see you, brother. Tommy, man, thank you, brother. Much love and respect to you, Tommy. What's up, buddy? I see you. Much love, Damien. Casper, what's good, man? Jordan, man, salute, brother. I never can pronounce this name, man. Pat and the Natty. Pat and the Natty, man. What's going on? TGP one. Who is this? Hold on. I'm just gonna say TGP. What's going on, man? Justified in the house. Who else we got in here? Windburn, what's going on, man? Of course, solid behind blue eyes, 420 vet, snowplow. Good to see you all. I know Blue was in here, blue collar vet. Again, you guys may see some changes with the wrenches. It's nothing personal. We just had to make some changes. We had way too many moderators, and I just had to make some changes. That's all it was. It was nothing personal. I'm trying to have moderators that I actually correspond with off of here. So please don't take it personal. But we had way too many moderators for this chat, way too many. So that's all it was. It's nothing personal. So please don't take it personal. And some may have been because I might have seen you in, somebody else's chat that, I just don't respect. And, if you were over there breaking bread with them, and I mean, honestly, I can't trust you as a moderator over here. I'm just saying, I'm not going to call anybody out personally, but if the shoe fits, wear it. Just saying. Okay, let me go ahead and pull up the video, and we'll go ahead and watch it, man. This is a hard one to watch, guys, but I feel it's something that's necessary. And I don't know if I'm going to get struck on it or not. Honestly, I don't know, but I don't care. I went ahead and edited it up, so we'll see. But I think it's important that we check this out. Let me know if there's an echo. I'm going to go ahead and share the volume. Just let me know if there's an echo. If there is, I'll fix it.
Yeah, so first question, simple. Introduce yourself and where are you from?
Oh, Jason Vukovic, and I'm from here.
Can anybody hear an echo? Or are we good?
Raised in Alaska.
Cool. Who are your parents and what was your...
Thank you, Hillbilly. Sorry about that, guys. Let me go ahead and take that down. It's weird because it gives you an option to share your volume. I mean, the audio, but when you do, it echoes, so you don't have to. It's just weird, but here we go.
life like growing up?
Who are my parents? Well, I was adopted when I was young by a guy.
Better? Actions, good to see you. Tim, how you doing?
Yeah, so first question, simple. Introduce yourself and where are you from?
Oh, Jason Vukovic, and I'm from here. Born and raised in Alaska.
Cool. Who are your parents and what was your life like growing up?
Who are my parents? Well, I was adopted when I was young by a guy, and we were raised in a church, in a very church-centric household, so my life was a lot of time in church and around church. I think early on there were missionaries.
So that's just basically talking about uh, him being his stepfather or adopted father being his charges being suspended. Is that's what that's talking about.
Afternoon shift, and then um, I think the stepdad, the person that adopted me, was he worked at AT&T as an operator, so he worked late afternoon shift, and then my mother was gone all day, so we spent a great deal of time alone in alternating shifts with the two of them, you know. But as everybody knows now, this was a very abusive household, and he I don't know where he came from or who taught him to be the way that he was, but he was very focused on physical punishments and things like that. So, you know, as the years progressed, we went from belts and sticks and things like that to eventually he had a custom 2x4, which was his method of punishing us. And there was all kinds of sexual assaults and things like that, abuse that went along with that. So, I mean, if you ask me now, I would tell you it was a hella fucked up childhood and not pleasant in any way, you know. So yeah. No one can fault you for your convictions or your beliefs, and I fucking hate slavery. I hate it. I don't like people that victimize kids in any way, shape, or form. I think it's vile. I think it's disgusting, and I really don't give a fuck where you come from or who you are. I don't like that shit at all. And the thing is, in this country, for the most part, every organized body in this country, a certain portion of them feel like children are a commodity and they're to be bought, sold, or used in a certain manner. And I mean all of them, from organized churches to, you know what I mean? I was molested by a Christian church going guy who was in church, you know, 4 times a week. I was hauled into that church and they said, well, you need to forgive him for what he's done.
And with your
See, and that's what's so hard because we know that board wants to hear that type of verbiage. We know that that's what they want to hear before they'll let you out. And I'm sorry. I could never forgive the man that sexually molested me. Ever. Ever. There's nothing that could be done that could rectify what that man did to me and how it affected the rest of my life. So forgiveness, like I mean, how that's the kind of situation they put you in, though, man. They want to hear those words, man. They want to hear that remorse. And it's like, how can you have remorse against somebody that harms a child? I can't bring myself to do it.
mom, like, are you still in contact with her? Like, does she at all accept to this day that you were abused at all? Or is she still like,
Yeah. So it's the weirdest mind fuck ever. She, you know, being a person that was in a church and raised us around a church, Abbott Loop Christian Center, incidentally, you're here in Anchorage. It's one of the biggest churches on the South Side. They were missionaries from that church. And number one, she stayed with the guy that was convicted of molesting my brother and I till the day he died, to the exclusion of her own children. Like my brother ran away, I ran away.
Hey, I'm glad you bring that up, bro. Tim, Jason is good people. And, you know, there's a certain individual that has tried to throw this man under the bus. I'm not going to say his name because it ain't even worth saying. But the bottom line is I'm tired of motherfuckers trying to trash people in this genre that are trying to do something good. You know, I don't know, man. Like I get it. There's some people in the genre that through unfavorable stuff, and I agree. But there are a lot of people that are trying to do something good here and bring awareness and make people laugh, and you know, it shouldn't be trash for it, you know. Um, but anyways, this man ain't done nothing wrong. This man ain't done nothing wrong to nobody that didn't have it coming. Point blank and simple. And if you got a problem with him for that, then I don't know what to say, man. If you got a problem with me leaving an organization that ain't even really active no more, and really out there doing things to better my life, then I really don't care what you think about me. I know what I've done. I know what I haven't done, and I know where I sit today. And I know that if I had done anything wrong, the 9 years that I sat when I came home from prison in my neighborhood where I grew up, seeing my homeboys, both solid and on the other side of the fence, on the streets, if there was anything that I had coming, they would have gave it to me. Believe that. So I know where I sit. I know where I stand, and I know where I'm at. And I know where my homeboys look at me and how they look at me and what they think about me. And what a few individuals on YouTube think really don't matter to me. And I'm sure it don't matter to Jason either. You know?
He went to the cops. They charged him with the crime. He was convicted. She still stayed with him. And I didn't speak to her for many, many, many years. And strangely, when I was in pretrial for this crime, like 6 or 8 months or a year into it, I just hear this little shh under the door, and a letter comes in. It's from her. Haven't heard from her in years. And it said, basically, your dad, the molester, is dead. He died, and he left you a letter, and I just wanted to know if you wanted that letter, me to send it to you or something like that. And really, I was pretty deeply offended, and I'm not a mean-spirited person by any means, but I wrote her back and I told her, number one, no, I don't want to hear anything that he has to say. And number two, my only regret is that I was not in the room to hear his last breath, or, even better, be the one to hold the pillow over his face.
So for anybody trying to slander this dude, I want people to hear his words here. This man is speaking his heart. So, you can sit here and try and bash him, but that's his life. He lived it. You didn't. And he's done what he feels is best for him. And he didn't take anybody down with him. Nobody went to jail or court or anything behind anything this man's done. So I don't understand where the problem lies. Because he's got a little more clout than you, maybe? I don't know.
Because that sort of person and what they do, it creates waves of pain that just keep on going. Look at what I'm living right now. This is all created by a child molester when I was a little kid. That's what caused all of this. I live in a fucking prison. Everything I own in this world is in a cardboard box, and I should have had a much better and much more happy and meaningful life.
Exactly, man. His life was taken from him a while ago. His life was taken from him the first time that creep touched him. And if you know and you've lived it, then you know. Man, salute to you, Jason, for doing what you're doing, man. That's real, man. My heart goes out to you, bro. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And that goes for anybody that's pushing positivity and trying to do the right thing on this motherfucker, man. Fuck what anybody says. Keep doing you, man.
To your question, I read that letter. I responded one time, and I asked her to please explain how and why she made the decision she did as pertains to my brother and I. And bro, to this day, she has never apologized, never explained it, never responded. So no, I sort of came to terms with not having a mom or a dad 20, 25 years ago.
Okay, third question. So can you tell us about your siblings and what's your like relationship with them?
Yeah, so I have an older brother that has the same mom and dad that I do. Uh, and he and I were extremely close, you know what I mean, throughout my childhood. That was my best friend up until he ran away from home at 16 years old. I think he ran away from home and left me there. But he was my partner and my buddy and taught me everything. And then when he left, uh, I also had a half brother and sister, Justin and Jana. So same mother, and their dad was the guy that adopted my brother and I and molested us. That was their father. And none of them have I seen or heard from in years, with the exception of my older brother actually showed up for this court for my sentencing, you know, and wanted to sort of back up the stuff that I was saying and had things to say to the court. And it was really great to see him. And I thought he would stick around and be in my life after that point. But sadly, after the sentencing and the court episode, he and I met together, and he basically said, you know, just being around you and seeing you brings back too many horrible memories, and I've gone through too much therapy and stuff to get out of these memories. So, and you know, it was,
Man, I don't know. Man, that had to have hurt him, man, to hear those words. But if you follow the story and you remember that the older brother would try to take all the abuse so he didn't have to. But still, I can only imagine how he felt when he heard those words from his big brother. But I don't know, they might be in contact now. I don't know. I don't watch him like I used to. I haven't watched him for a little while just because of triggers, and stuff that I deal with and everything going on with my son right now. So I've been detaching myself from certain things for my own mental status. So, but who knows? He might be in contact now with his brother, which would be amazing if they could, mend that fence. I hope he is. You know what I mean? Maybe if somebody's in the chat that follows him closer can let me know if he is in contact with his brother. Yeah, now.
particularly heart-wrenching for me because in he had contacted my attorney before the sentencing, and so I sort of had some amount of excitement thinking, you know, well, at the very least I may have lost my own life, but at least I'll get my brother back out of all of this, and was hoping that that was the case. But another thing too is I can't necessarily judge him for the steps he's needed to take to heal himself and move forward in his own life. And I mean, if part of that is putting all of the people associated with the abuse from our childhood, you know, somewhere separate from his experience, then so be it. That's got to be what it is. So as hurtful as it was and has been, I respected his decision. But, you know, also subsequent to that happening, I've just had a whole surprising, varied array of people appear in my life that have taken on those roles and been brothers to me or sisters or friends to me. And that's been kind of a profound and amazing blessing.
So, fourth question. I understand there was a point in your life when you ran away without an ID. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so it was actually the first little girlfriend I ever had that came and rescued me. And I was working at I remember I was working at a grocery store, and I think she was in an alternative school nearby, and somehow we crossed paths. And I used to sneak out my window to go run around with her, and I sort of related. She was, I think, was one of the first people I related what was going on with me in my life.
I agree, sis. I agree. And thank you, Actions, for that information. So for those that didn't see that or that are just listening, Actions actually watched a podcast with Roma. Salute to Roma. Amazing person, great channel. So salute to Roma. If somebody wants to drop a link to her channel in the chat, one of the moderators, please do. They can actually click on the links in here because I'm not on the the whatever they call it, short feed or whatever. So links are clickable. So if somebody wants to drop her link, but apparently they had a podcast together um, last night, and he spoke about it and said they're no longer talking still, and that's just sad. That's truly sad. Um, you know, I just I have a little brother, two of them, a matter of fact, and I could never ever leave them in something like that and abandon them like that. Um, so yeah, I just wow. I'm sure that's not easy for him at all. And they were together, growing up. It's not like they were apart, you know. That was his big brother. Hey, facts, salute, brother. I shared your live, brother. And again, just so anybody watching tonight at 7:40 p.m. Eastern time, facts, stranger than fiction, will be going live. I don't know what the live's about, but according to the thumbnail, it looks like it might be a little comical. So tap in, show some love, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. I also shared Splinter and Vegas Profile Stories live last night, which was fucking hilarious. It's in the community section. If you haven't seen it, please go tap into that too. Salute to fucking Splinter and Rick from Vegas Profiles. Both of them are good people. Let's go. Let's continue.
And she was absolutely horrified and shocked. And she was like, you know what? We got to get you out of there. I'm going to come and rescue you from these people. So she came, snuck me out of the house one night, and I basically ran away with her. And I think we were gone for 1 or 2 nights, and some of the church people saw us together somewhere else, notified my parents, and their response. I remember coming back the following morning, and all of my shit was in the trash bags on the front porch. Doors were locked. Everything was locked. And they had kept my ID and identifying paperwork and everything else. So that was sort of the start down a very long and winding path of being a thief and a liar, because you cannot work without ID or identifying papers. They wouldn't give them to me. I wasn't smart enough at the time to know how to contact. In fact, I think I did contact my hospital, ask for the birth certificate, but you have to have your parents' approval to get such things. So it was a kind of a.
That fucking made my skin. Hey, that made my skin crawl right now. Whew.
Double barricade, but
hearing that fucking door slam, man, that made my skin crawl.
Moved far away, got a job, and I remember the first job I had was in telemarketing, and I worked for a couple of weeks. And then when it came time to get my paycheck, the boss had my paycheck in his hand, and he said, "Bro, I will give you this paycheck, but you have to give us identifying papers. You have to. I need an ID or a driver's license or something." And I couldn't produce it, so I couldn't get paid, and I got fired. And that's when I started stealing to feed myself. And it was sort of just a terrible, learned practice that I maintained throughout my life, which is a really awful thing. Being a thief and a liar does not pay well karmically or otherwise. But later on in life, I developed a really great work ethic. No, so I didn't complete high school. I was in homeschool, actually, and I like to think that I was pretty smart, but in homeschool, I would do a year's worth of classes in 2 or 3 months, just myself. Pretty much, honestly, cheating all the exams and cheating the coursework. I would just read the book and then go to the exam and fill it out. And
Let me tell you, man, this dude is very intelligent. Very, very intelligent, man. Jason is a smart man. And I was talking to somebody just the other day via message. There was a time in my life where I was very dedicated to Asatru, Odinism. And some people think that, they attribute that only to prison. And unfortunately, that's a sad thing because Asatru and Odinism has been around for predating Christianity. The Vikings, they sought refuge and strength and during times of growing crops, they would call upon Thor to bless the crops with rain. And during times of battle, they would call upon Odin, to throw his spear over their enemy for victory. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things about Odinism and Asatru. Some people think like Thor is a comic book character. Nah, he might be, but it's a lot deeper than that. If you look at the days of the week, just look at the Webster's dictionary and the definitions. All the days of the week are named after Norse gods and goddesses and pagan gods and goddesses, all of them, every last swinging one of them. So there's a lot of truth to that. And that was one time when I felt the strongest in my life, is when I was very, very focused on Asatru and Odinism and standing tall with the gods and goddesses of my ancestors. And I need to get back into that. I need to set up a stali, an altar right here in my office, and I need to get me a ceremonial hammer, my runes. I need to get back and focus. And that's something with my spirituality has been off, and I need to get back into that. And I've struggled with Christianity and Asatru, and I'm sorry, but what I truly felt a connection with was them Norse gods and goddesses. I'm just saying.
then I spent.
And he's connected. He feels that, and that's one thing I like about Jason, man. Is he's spiritually he's smart, he's intelligent, man, and I like him. That's one thing I like about Jason, man. He's very well read and intelligent.
The rest of the year, when I was young, working for big game guides, I would pack moose and caribou and brown bear, black bear, and long line for halibut, sandnet for salmon, just anything to get me out of the house for extended periods of time is what I was after. And it worked. So I would only have to be home 3 or 4 months of the year and knock out a year of high school. But running away from home, of course, you don't keep going to high school. So I think eventually I got a GED somewhere. I think it was in juvenile of all places. Yeah, I got a GED, but no, I never graduated high school, unfortunately.
And one of our first phone calls, you said that you've always been in like situations at the right time.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So like, I know there was a time when you left Alaska and you had a bit of an adventure before the incident. So I just think it would be pretty interesting to kind of like go into that, about your journey.
Yeah. Well, I wonder now in hindsight, I think maybe, the sort of trauma that we go through when we're young maybe attunes us to certain energies that are similar to that. In hindsight, that's what I believe is the case. So coming from a household where, kids are beaten and sexually assaulted and things like that, it would appear as you move throughout your life, other states, other places, you're attuned to that sort of energy if it's going on around you. And I'm certainly the sort of person, something of a spiritualist, have found myself around organized groups of people throughout my life. And I definitely have been drawn a number of times in a number of states and places to where, there was child trafficking or things like that going on that needed to be, interceded upon or something similar to that. And that's been a common theme in my life. And it wasn't until I came back home to the state of Alaska that anything received any publicity, you know what I mean? So I've been in a number of states and a number of places. And coming back home and getting arrested at the end of it all was, you know, unexpected.
So remember, you know, he had a history in other states. You know, we read that article, and he had a history in other states, you know, where he had gotten in trouble. And if you read between the lines on what he's saying right there, I think you can kind of figure out what he's saying. You know, yeah, just read in between the lines is all you got to do. You know what I mean? Hey, that's right. And hey, I got something for that.
Smoke weed every day.
$4.20.
Nice.
Have you been smoking marijuana?
Hey, all day long, man, all day long. And Tim, man, I can't wait, bro. Like I've done interviews in the past, and I really enjoy doing interviews because I like to get deep with somebody, you know what I mean? And me and Splinter, you know what I mean? I already know we're gonna vibe because we're both from California, and it's just how it is when you guys seen me and fucking Badger on the panel together, just fucking yucking it up and clowning around. I mean, that's how it is, man. You know what I mean? So, and man, free Badger, man. Free fucking Badger, man. Like, the feds are dirty, man. They're fucking dirty. Like, straight up, dirty as shit, man. Like, that man didn't do nothing, man. Like fucking Badger didn't do shit, man. Let the man go. It's just crazy, man. It's just wild, man. Some of the shit that happens, man. And Badger, man. Somebody can't struggle with addiction. And if they do, they get fucking football numbers. Like, make it make sense. You know? I mean, I believe he was in a halfway house, man, when they arrested him. I mean, fuck, man. Yeah, man. I don't know. I just, Herb, I see you, brother. Salute, man. I just don't get it, man. I don't understand it, man. Like, some of these indictments that come down and the way they snatch people up in them is crazy. And I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Well, let's keep going. Let's continue.
So, what specifically did you? But it just kept persistently nagging at me. Also,
Thing was very interesting, and so
Did that cut the sound off? Did it really cut the sound off? Okay, well, now that's a lesson learned. So where did I leave off? Where did the sound cut off at? I don't remember none of this.
that needed to be, you know, interceded upon of people throughout my life, and I definitely
Right
have
there.
been drawn a number of times in a number of states and places to where, there was child trafficking or things like that going on that needed to be, interceded upon or something similar to that. And that's been a common theme in my life. And it wasn't until I came back.
So let me know. Let me know if I'm going to push play again, and just let me know if what I'm doing is turning the audio off and on. I'm just curious. I just want to know what caused the audio to go off, so I know from future reference.
Home to the state of Alaska. Publicity, you know what I mean? So I've been in a number of states and a number of and getting arrested at the end of it all was, so what specifically did you want to talk about?
I mean, specifically, I thought that
Was that it? Was that turning the audio off and on? Just curious. That's interesting. I didn't know that does that. So when I mute it up here off of my soundboard, it turns the audio off on him. That's crazy. That's if it was going off and on. It should have been going off and on. Let me know.
the Aryan compound thing was very interesting. And so can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
for sure. So that was a hell of an adventure. I will just describe it to you. So I remember being a young man, and at the time I was hauling pounds of weed from Spokane, Washington to Butte, Montana. We had a nice little house in Montana. And I would usually make a trip once every week, hauling 5 or 10 pounds at the time. That was a lot. Nowadays it's probably not, but it was for us. And I remember coming through one time, and it was 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening, and I'm on the I-90 in my Suburban. Music is throbbing. And as I'm crossing the Idaho border into Post Falls, I just felt that familiar pull in my spirit. I call it my internal compass. Was telling me to pull off at the Coeur d'Alene exit and head towards Hayden Lake. And usually, when you're hauling weight, when you're hauling felonies, it's not something you're going to do. Deviate from course. Certainly not at night. Certainly not on the freeway. But it just kept persistently nagging at me to pull off. So when I hit the Coeur d'Alene exit, that's what I did. I pulled off, and I drove about 35 miles up to Hayden Lake. At the time, there was a pretty large and functional and renowned Aryan compound that was a fixture there. I think a guy named Richard Butler was running it at the time, and it was pretty official. There was sentry towers and razor wire and all that sort of thing. And I got there after midnight at some point and kind of slid to a stop outside. And in my headlights, just where I happened to pull in and happened to stop, there was a little 14 or 15-year-old girl, pregnant. She was holding a cardboard box in one hand and a guitar in the other hand. Had a slave bracelet tattooed on her left wrist. And in their culture, it goes around the 2 middle fingers and then wraps around the wrist. And she was sort of looking up at the fence. It appeared to me as though she wanted to escape. She was contemplating how to climb the fence. And then when she saw me pull up, I think she thought I was security or something. She was pretty frightened at first. And knowing how this works, following your intuition, or whatever energies are guiding you, I got out, asked her if she was all right. And she told me she was trying to get out of there. She wanted to get out. And I had some bolt cutters in the back of my Suburban, cut a hole in the fence, helped her climb out. We left. Interestingly, she gave me that box of records for helping her, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I took her back into Spokane and dropped her off at some friends who were sort of involved in the culture and knew that sort of thing. On the way in, she told me that she had been taken from her family at 7 or 8 years old, that she was a breeder for them. This was her second child, and they had taught her, how to be a wife and mother, or I don't know, they were training her in some sort of way. Interestingly, that night when I dropped her off where I took her, see this tattoo right here, this one right here. She got one, a small one matching. We both got them the same night, the same day. I'll never forget that incident. And she said it was a big That's a big HA, which stands for Heaven's Angels. So she thought she had been rescued by an angel or something. But the following morning, I knew I couldn't take property from a group like that because they're fairly large and fairly, had some reach in that part of the world, certainly. So I drove back out to their matriarch's house. She had a pretty big spread near the compound and just knocked on the door. And when she answered the door, I told her, I took your shit. And she said, excuse me? And I told her, I took your shit last night. I took her. So she said, well, why don't you come on in? Invited me in the house, and I came in and sat down in this big living room. There was hardwood floors, and there was kind of big Aryan signs on the walls. And over the course of the next hour or so, and mind you, at the time, I was a young man with long hair. I was kind of hippie-ish in my own right. The room starts to fill up with these guys, and I'm talking scary-looking motherfuckers for me at that time. Skinhead guys, they all had skull belt buckles with ruby eyes and matching rings. Some of them had matching rings. A couple of them brought dogs. There was a couple of dogs in the room on leashes.
The thing that people don't conceptualize is that when you live a certain lifestyle, like for example, let's say you were raised in New Jersey and you go rob a mob gambling house, and you live in Long Island, you pretty much know you're not going to be able to go rob the mobsters of some very specific jewelry and then wear it around their town and get away with it. Like, it's quite obvious you're going to have to tell somebody what you did and own up to it. You know what I mean? You're just not going to get away with it. So in the microcosm of my life, I already knew, having gone on to their compound and done what I had done. I assumed they had video surveillance anyway. There's no escaping or getting away with it. So it's like the next logical thing to do is to go and explain why you did what you did. And probably fortunately for me, because I'm alive. Had I not gone and owned up to what I did in that particular manner and had whatever spiritual, occurrence took place in the moment that allowed me to survive, I probably wouldn't be alive right now. They probably would have tracked me down and fucking killed me.
Over the course of time, as the room was filling up, it sort of settled into my consciousness. I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I realized, like, they're here to watch an execution. That's what this is. They're going to kill me. And it sort of settled into me that was what was happening. Kitchen was behind me. And this guy comes in with his girlfriend, and no bullshit, his girlfriend had one leg and she was on crutches. She had a stump leg, and his name was Doug Breitkreitz. Never forget this dude's name. Big, giant, muscle-bound guy. And he had a ritual knife in one hand. In their tradition, a ritual knife is carved out of human bone. The handle is. And he proceeds to straddle me on the couch, and his girlfriend, for good measure, I don't know why, I remember her smashing me in the head a few times with one of her crutches, which was rather demeaning and odd. But he stabbed me twice under the arm, once in the head. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see your hand. Feel that?
Oh, I feel it. Yeah.
That's where he stabbed me in the head. And the strange thing was, I think he punctured one of my lungs and stabbed me in the head, cut all my hair off and gave it to her. And I don't know if I blacked out or what happened, but I remember coming to consciousness and looking up at him, and sort of this little yellow shimmery light came down in between us. And I just said, hey, Doug, thanks for not killing me. And he stopped in mid-swing right there. And I mean, I was drenched in blood, couldn't hardly see. And he said, you know what? You're good, brother. Get your shit and get the fuck out of here. And I took my shirt off, tied it on my head, wiped my face, sort of got up, staggered out, collapsed by some railroad tracks nearby. And I remember waking up ice cold. And part of me thinks that I died at some point in that process, and came back to life, revived through some set of circumstances. But I remember getting back to the vehicle and going all the way back to the house in Montana. The mother of my kids answering the door. And when I left, I was a regular long-haired guy. I came back half scalped, stabbed. You know what I mean? She's like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" And I just told her I don't want to talk about it, and we super glued the wounds. I had to go to the hospital for the punctured lung.
In the end, they turned out to be World War II 33 and a third speed black glass broadcast records. And there was a number of different ones in there. That it was just a very peculiar assortment of records. I don't know if they had some additional meaning into her or her background or what, but I had never seen anything like it before, and I found it to be quite interesting. There was like, I don't know, Father Flanagan and his Boys Town Choir. There was a couple of them that said the Magic Hour. There was one.
Wow. So I'm gonna stop it there because I just real quick, I'm gonna talk about this story about a guy named Oki that I was with in prison. And now Oki, I'm not gonna tell the whole story right now, but I will do a video on it. But Oki was the rec clerk on the yard I was on. And what the rec clerk does is they basically are in charge of, any type of basketballs, handballs, stuff like that, any of the rec equipment. There's like a box that they bring out when yard's out, and they're in charge of making sure all the rec equipment gets in and out and back in the box. You know what I mean? So, when there's extra handballs and stuff like that, he'll throw them out to people, so they can hang on to them and keep the new ones and stuff, shit like that. And he was a good dude. And I was night yard crew at the time, and he would always still be out there at yard recall. So one day I just sat there on the box with him because he'd always sit on that big ass wooden box, and I sat on the box with him and I was just shooting the shit with him. And I'll just say he came down to California from Oklahoma. He was from Oklahoma. And he found his brother, his actual blood brother, hiding some very nasty material in a spot in his garage that he had locked. And Oki's curiosity got the better of him. He broke in there to see what dude had. And his brother had some funny ass shit in there. And to make a long story short, 2 people ended up passing away that day. And he was convicted of this and everything, so it's not a secret, and I'm not putting his name out there, but 2 people ended up losing their life that day, and that was his brother and his brother's wife. And I'll tell that story, you know what I mean? But it was just insane to hear his story. And it's crazy, the weirdos that are out there, man. There are some very weird people in this world, man. And I don't know, man. That just goes to show, though, the emotion that would stir up in somebody. I mean, that's his blood brother, you know what I mean? He didn't give a fuck. Man, when it comes to stuff like that, pictures with kids and stuff, like, come on, man. Like, yeah, we don't tolerate that. No.
One that was, excuse me, appeared to be the first recording that Columbia Records ever made. And it had like a cover letter and a technical bulletin with it that was like describing them developing the technology to replicate every variety of audible human sound. So this was like new technology for them at the time. There was like Army, Navy, Marine bands in there represented. There was just an interesting box of records.
And I sort of had just spent my life traveling different places, different states, following work, occasionally involving myself in adventures like we described. Another one was
Damn Doors.
I remember Bend, Oregon was MS-13 in Bend, Oregon. They had a pretty good little child trafficking situation going on in Redmond out of a motel room. And there was a great deal of drama around my interceding or inserting myself in the middle of that. And I came back from Vancouver, Washington, and there was some commercial work that was available in Alaska for good pay. And I really wanted to come back and just find the biggest piece of peace that I could possibly find and sort of lay low and live a nice, quiet life and, get away from all of the turmoil and stuff like that in the lower 48. In coming back home, some of the stuff that I wanted to get away from was all of the gang stuff and all of the drug trafficking and things like that. And I'll never forget the day that I set foot off the airplane up here in Anchorage. I was just absolutely shocked. I was floored because I came back to my home state after 10 or 15 years I had been gone. And it was absolutely saturated with everything that I tried to get away from. It was flooded. Flooded with drugs, flooded with gangs. I started ingratiating myself into the community. We call it the Sub Rosa community, which means under the rose, right? The hidden community. And man, the kids, 15, 16, 17 years old, they're all using needles. They're intravenous drug users. It was absolute heartbreak. Where are the parents? I do not know. And sort of along the way in my prison years, off and on, and play.
See, and I relate to this so much, guys, because coming home after 13 years, I went in 1998, came home 2010. And let me tell you, man, coming home after all those years and then seeing how much everything had changed for the worse. For the complete worst, total worst. It was sad. Like I started shooting methamphetamine when I was 14 or 15 years old. The first time I ever did coke was with my uncle when I was like 13. And when I came home from prison and saw how bad things had gotten, it was sad, man. Like it was sad. Heroin had made a huge comeback. Pills were on the rise. And it was crazy, man. The homeless situation was insane. Like just so many homeless people. It was insane, man. It was just crazy. And so I can relate to what he's talking about here. Coming back to your hometown. Like I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. And that's anybody that's from California, especially in the system, knows about the San Fernando Valley car. It's a big car for the white boys. And I mean, I'm just saying, man, like shit changed in my hometown. It was sad. Walking Tall remake was a documentary. Interesting. I did not know that. I'm going to have to find the original.
Places I traveled, I'm a spiritualist, and one of the things that I studied along the way was masonry. And we had little clandestine lodges and used old books to work through the degrees and things like that. So for some reason, it was something that was interesting to me. And being back in town, I'm hearing from these youngsters that, hey, this guy has girls over at his house and he's molesting them, or that guy. Sort of in conjunction with that, at 15th and Gamble here in Anchorage, and you can drive by that on the way out of town. There's a little Masonic lodge with a little caretaker's house next door. And I used to walk by that place, and I found it interesting because we took our little clandestine practices very, very seriously, and how we sat and how we dressed and all that sort of stuff was really important to us. And I would walk by, and their lawn was not regularly mowed. It was just disheveled with weeds coming up, and I was very disappointed by that. I don't know why. I just thought, if you're involving yourself with higher minded practices, you should always remember the little humble things. So the guy had an old mechanical lawnmower nailed to the tree. And once a week or so, I used to pull that push mower off the tree and I would mow the lawn for him. Well, one afternoon, I'm mowing the lawn And he comes out of his house, the guy that built the caretaker's house. Yet another time in my life, he's got one leg. He's a veteran of 2 world wars, has a giant white puffy dog, and he sits on his front porch and beckons me up. And I sit down next to him, and he tells me, well, this is not verbatim. He tells me a number of things, but he basically tells me that he appreciated my work ethic, and that there was a couple of pillars that needed to be torn down in this community. And he sort of gave me, not sort of, he gave me at least one of the names of the people that I visited. And it's just interesting how communities are aware of what is going on within them. Even a super old man at a house just randomly who encounters you, is aware of your heart and what you are not willing to do. And anyway, that's how I got one of the names. And that guy in particular owned a really expensive house right on the lake by the airport. And he was convicted of molesting a 10-month-old baby. I think it was his granddaughter. He was currently the youth music leader for the church he was associated with, was having kids come to his home in the now. And that definitely is one of the people I visited. And I don't know if it's snapping, perhaps it is, but just as a continuation of an off and on life practice, coming home and just seeing the veracity of it in this community, it's amazing. I think the state of Alaska has like one of the highest rates of sexual assault or child abuse.
So I kind of had to enlarge it to kind of, for the copyright purposes, but it's basically giving statistics, of what's happening. What we all know is happening. There's my beautiful wife, Leslie Dangerous. If you haven't subscribed to her channel, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. And her and I are going to start doing more content on here together as a couple, as a husband and wife. There's some things that we're going to react to. There's a case that Leslie really got intrigued by that we're going to go over. But yeah, that's her link to her channel. If you haven't, please go over there, show some support. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Jay Bird, man, what's going on, Jay Bird? Good to see you, brother. Much love, man. Always, man. Always, brother. You already know, man. We just going over the Alaskan Avengers interview that he did. It's very interesting, man. Very interesting interview. We're just going over that, checking it out. Solid behind blue eyes. Thank you very much. Salute to everybody in the chat. Baby, I hope you're doing all right. Your day's going good. I love you. My beautiful wife. Jamie, I see you, brother. Good to see you. Again, if there's some wrenches that have been taken, it's nothing personal. I did take some wrenches just because if I can't get a hold of you off of YouTube, then it's kind of hard for me to correspond with you regarding the channel or anything regarding moderation. So, I just kept people that I can actually communicate with off of here. So it's nothing personal. It's just we had a lot of moderators over here, a lot of them. So we had to just take a few wrenches. It wasn't nothing personal. So please, nobody take it personal.
So I received some names from people in the community, but I'm also, I mean, I'm not an idiot. I'm very smart, so I went and vetted them online first. And a good way to determine if a person is now molesting kids is to go see if they have a history of it. So, not surprisingly, 2 or 3 or 4 of the names that I got when I went and checked on the registry, there they are, and they are registered sex offenders. Which brings to mind the question, why are they around kids now? So, for instance, one of them was convicted of raping his own daughter.
What's his name?
I won't say his name,
Oh, no.
but it's public record. But he had a daughter with his daughter that he was convicted of raping, which is particularly vile. And he was babysitting and interacting and holding that child now, which is against any sort of protocols that he had as a result of his conviction. Where was the state? I do not know. Why was
So for anybody that don't know, if you are a convicted SO, one, you're going to be on a public registry that everybody has access to, that is public information. I can post it on YouTube. I can post it wherever the hell I want. I can share it on Facebook. I can share it wherever I want. The only thing you can't do is provoke violence upon that person, but you can share it for awareness purposes all day long. It's public information. That's why there's a public registry. Okay. So there's that. There's also the fact that they should not be around any children. Also, if you are a registered SO and you are caught to be online, technically you can be punished for that. Technically, you should not be online where children can be. So there's a lot of rules and regulations and laws and things that they got to abide by when they get out. A lot of people don't know that, and they slide through the cracks and get away with a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is do your research in your hometown, your home state, your city, whatever, on the laws as far as registered SOs, and just know that, and look up your local registry and know who's around you. I know where everybody's at around me. Like, know where they're at. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And you'd be surprised at how many there are. That's real talk. And Florida, they're crazy how they handle it out here. There's a spot where they got a whole little city where they make them go in one spot. There's another spot where the only place they can live is in the woods. Like, straight up. That's the only options they have, is to camp out in the fucking woods. Like, Florida, don't fuck around, man. Florida, fuck around. I've seen some documentaries out here, man. Yeah, they give them the blues, man. But they are all over, man. If you look at your public registry, which I'm pretty sure every place has one now, every state has one, you'll see there's a lot of them dirty bastards around. You'd be surprised. So if you got children, man, make sure you're on that. Know where they're at, man. Make sure your kids aren't walking by their house. None of that shit. And if they're within the vicinity of a school, man, they're not supposed to be. Vicinity of a park, they're not supposed to be in most states. That's against, they can't do that. So, man, I'm just saying, man, ain't no, man. Yeah, there ain't nothing, there ain't no telling, man, when it comes to one of them weirdos. I'm just saying. There ain't no such thing as snitching when it comes to one of them weirdos.
the state not aware of that? I do not know. Incidentally, also what I found as this practice, proliferated a little bit, the state does not have the resources to make sure registered sex offenders are at the addresses they say they're at. So a number of times I went places to find someone to speak to them, knock at the door, and it's a completely different family that's there. Well, where is so-and-so? They don't know. He's not here. He's gone. So that's another issue that came to light, as a result of my practice is, bro, you're They are running amok everywhere. And 50% of the time, I would say, they're not at the address that they say they're at. Yeah, well, I was very particular in these.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I didn't think about that. Giving false addresses, you know what I mean? But see, that's the thing though. They're so strictly, they should be anyway, so strictly guided by their parole and their guidelines. But obviously, they might not be out in this area. Some places cater to them weirdos. I'm telling you, man. Some places cater to them.
Interactions, like for instance, no gun, no mask, no knife. I mean, I could have gone in there masked up with a pistol and taped them up, tied them up, done whatever I wanted to, but I was very specific that I wanted to go face up, no gun, no weapon. I wanted to interact with each one of them hand to hand, like a man would do it. And again, you have to realize that as dramatic and horrible.
And you are right, Snowplow. Not everybody on the registry is on there for acts against minors. There's also people on the registry that are. It says what their convictions are, so it's public record. But there's also people that are on there for offenses against women, offenses against men. I mean, all kinds of different weird stuff. But it's pretty much anybody that has an SO or is convicted of a SO.
Horrifying as it all sounds, imagine being a little kid. I didn't get visited by a dude with a 2x4 one time. I got visited by a guy.
No, honey, he's right. They're right. You're wrong, baby. It's if they're grape, anything like that is on there. It's not just for PDF files. Yeah, so it's any sex offender, honey. So damn it, I said the word. Yeah, it's any SO. It's any SO. It can be somebody that does something against a woman, against a man, any type of offense like that. So you just got to read it. And it usually has like color, like I know the one in California, like Megan's Law, they had like color charts, like different colors for different charges and stuff. So it depends on which one you're at. But yeah. Yeah. Herb, what's going on, brother? I think anybody though that has been convicted of anything should be on that list. If you've been convicted of something sus like that, man, you should be on that list, man. People have a right to know who their neighbors are, who's living around them. Right? It's crazy. Hold on, baby.
With a 2x4 100 times, more than 100 times. I got molested 50 times. So for me to go run into a child molester and open hand, slap and backhand his face 50 times and give him a lesson about molesting kids and then leave, to me,
Uno momento. Let me restart it. Uno momento. Let me restart it. Oh, man. I hope this doesn't take a while. Hold on. I wonder why it did that. Shit, hold on, guys. Let me try and figure this out. Ah, man. Uno momento, por favor. I do not want to have to do all that again, man. That's the whole thing. Okay, so hold on. Let me go. I think it was documents. Okay. Yeah, I think, honey, I think you're misunderstanding though. I don't think it's just saying that they're not, that's not just PDFs on there. It's not just PDFs on there, honey. It's also, yeah, it's everybody that's an SO. Ah, man, shit. Hold on, guys. Oh, man. Is it documents? I know what I'm going to have to do, and I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to. So give me a second, please. Oh, man. I do not want to do this, but I have to. I don't know why I did that. That's weird. It was in the mix of playing, so it should have been fine. Anyways, I'll try to keep everybody entertained while this is going on. Yeah, no, an SO is an SO. I mean, you know, it's an SO is an SO. I agree. I agree, honey. I agree. But I think you know, his story is one that needs to be heard because there's people on the internet right now trying to slander the individual, and I don't know. I just think it's important. Um and his story is deep and I relate to it. It's hard to watch this kind of stuff though without getting, you know, frustrated or emotional or, you know, it's always hard. So I understand why Leslie's, you know, feels the way she does. The world is got a bunch of creeps in it. Hey, listen, that's my wife, first of all, Snowplow. That's my wife, first of all. And if they're listen, man, if they're on the registry, I mean, they're sus until I know for a fact they're cleared. And that is a rarity. Like I really think that's a rarity. Um, I don't think people are gonna be put on the registry for just no reason. And if it does happen, it's a very rarity. I can assure you that. Um, but I honestly thought I apologize, babe. You were right. I misread that comment. So you were right. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if they're on the registry. They're sus to me. That's just how I feel. But that's my wife. So like, I nobody's gonna argue with my wife in the chat. I don't care who it is. So that's just facts. So either it stops or you can excuse yourself from my channel for all I care. But you know, my wife's gonna be respected. But yeah, no, I mean the bottom line is if they're on a registry, then cool. You know, they're on a registry and they're trash in my eyes. Now, if they're exonerated of their charges and I see that, then that's fine. But that's a rarity. That's a rarity. But that's not even what I'm trying to say here. That wasn't even my point. My point is that you should be aware of who's around you. So, I mean that's the bottom line. You should be aware of who's around you. So, I mean, if there's somebody on the registry around your house, you're not going to be concerned about that regardless. I mean, if there's that percentage that somebody might not be convicted, might be convicted of the crime wrongfully, are you still going to, not consider those people around your house and your children to be sus? I mean, I would. I don't know. I'm trying to get back to the Avenger. I'm waiting for it to re-download so I can bring the video back up. But I'm just saying. But yeah, Jamie, you're absolutely right. Un momento. Almost done. Almost done. All right, here we go. Let me go ahead and close this out. Close this out. Open with. I don't think people realize all that goes into playing this stuff, man, and getting this stuff to work. Sometimes it's crazy. Okay, I don't know where. Whoa, see, why is it doing that? Why is it telling me to close media player? What the fuck? Why can't I X this out? What the hell? Why is it doing this? Well, I can just bring the regular documentary up and we'll just play that. Because whatever's going on here is not working. Oh, there it goes. Hold on. Well, why is it? Okay. We're just going to bring the regular documentary up because I don't know what the hell is going on here. I have no idea what the hell happened. Shit's taking a crap. Alaskan Avenger interview. Here we go. Let me bring this up. Whoa. Hold on, man. Who said ignorant, man? Hold on. Who's saying ignorant? Hey, hold on, man. Get the fuck out of here, Snowplow. Don't ever fucking call my wife ignorant again, man. Get the fuck out of here. I don't know who the fuck you're talking to, but you got me fucked up, man. Like, I don't need a subscriber that bad to where you're going to come in here and disrespect my beautiful wife, man. You can beat fucking feet, man. The fuck out of here. Who the fuck you're talking to, man? The fuck out of here. You ain't gonna talk to my wife like that. I don't give a fuck if you're mad or not. I don't give a fuck if you're mad or not. You ever disrespect my wife and call her ignorant again? I don't give a fuck. Fuck out of here. Give a fuck if you're mad. You think I care if you're mad? You just fucking refer to my wife as being ignorant. Get the fuck out of here. You're the one that's ignorant that wants to fucking even call into fucking question a small, minute amount of people that actually get charged wrongfully on the registry. Like, that's ignorant. Like, fuck that. I'm calling into question everybody on that motherfucker until I know different. So, like, you saying shit like that is basically like telling people, yeah, don't even trip on it. Like, they might not even, it might be false charges. Fuck that. I'm not taking no chances on that. Not with my kids. I blocked them, so they shouldn't even be coming through anymore. But I'm cool, man. Let's keep going. I'm going to share the screen. I'm just going to have to show the documentary, the actual documentary, guys. Because I don't know what happened. I'm trying to figure out where we were at.
And renowned Air Force.
I think we were like right here.
For me, because I'm alive. You know?
They're going to kill me. And it sort of settled into me that was what was happening. Kitchen was behind me. And this guy comes in with his girlfriend, and no bullshit, his girlfriend had one leg and she was on crutches. She had a stump leg. And his name was Doug Breitkreitz. Never forget this dude's name.
No, I kicked him, Leslie. Calling you ignorant. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm cool. I don't give a shit. Nobody's going to call you ignorant in my chat. I don't care.
Big, giant, muscle-bound guy, and he had a ritual knife in one hand. In their tradition, a ritual knife is carved out of human bone, the handle is. And he proceeds to straddle me on the couch, and his girlfriend, for good measure, I don't know why, I remember her smashing me in the head a few times with one of her crutches, which was rather demeaning and odd. But he stabbed me twice under the arm, once in the head. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see your hand. Feel that?
Oh, I feel it. Yeah.
That's where he stabbed me in the head. And the strange thing was, I think he punctured one of my lungs and stabbed me in the head, cut all my hair off and gave it to her. And I don't know if I blacked out or what happened, but I remember coming to consciousness and looking up at him, and sort of this little yellow shimmery light came down in between us. And I just said, "Hey, Doug, thanks for not killing me." And he stopped in mid-swing right there, and I mean, I was drenched in blood, couldn't hardly see. And he said, "You know what? You're good, brother. Get your shit and get the fuck out of here." And I took my shirt off, tied it on my head, wiped my face, sort of got up, staggered out, collapsed by some railroad tracks nearby, and I remember waking up ice cold. And part of me thinks that I died at some point in that process, you know, and came back to life, revived through some set of circumstances. But I remember getting back to the vehicle and going all the way back to the house in Montana. The mother of my kids answering the door, and when I left, I was a regular long-haired guy. I came back half scalped, stabbed, you know what I mean? She's like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" And I just told her I don't want to talk about it, and we super glued the wounds. I had to go to the hospital for the punctured lung.
In the end, they turned out to be World War II 33 and a third speed black glass broadcast records. And there was a number of different ones in there. That it was just a very peculiar assortment of records. I don't know if they had some additional meaning into her or her background or what?
Well, look, I don't know. I'm watching something about a man that was sexually abused as a child, as was I, and there's some kind of argument going on in the chat, and all I see is somebody saying something about ignorant and my wife. So, you guys hash it out then. But I'm focused on this video and where my head's at right now. But y'all deal with it then, honey. I don't know. Shit. Snowplow, you're not blocked anymore. I apologize. You guys deal with it then. But I'm gonna get back to this fucking documentary, okay? Salute to Jason, man. The Alaskan Avenger. And screw anybody trying to badmouth this man.
But I had never seen anything like it before, and I found it to be quite interesting. There was I don't know, Father Flanagan and his Boys Town Choir. There was a couple of them that said the Magic Hour. There was one that was, excuse me, appeared to be the first recording that Columbia Records ever made. And it had a cover letter and a technical bulletin with it that was describing them developing the technology to replicate every variety of audible human sound. So this was new technology for them at the time. There was Army, Navy, Marine bands in there represented. There was just an interesting box of records.
And I sort of had just spent my life traveling different places, different states, following work, occasionally involving myself in adventures like we described. Another one was, I remember Bend, Oregon, was MS-13 in Bend, Oregon. They had a pretty good little child trafficking situation going on in Redmond out of a motel room. And there was a great deal of drama around my interceding or inserting myself in the middle of that situation, and I had to leave. But I came back from Vancouver, Washington, and there was some commercial work that was available in Alaska for good pay. And I really wanted to come back and just find the biggest piece of peace that I could possibly find and sort of lay low and live a nice, quiet life and, get away from all of the turmoil and stuff like that in the lower 48. In coming back home, some of the stuff that I wanted to get away from was all of the gang stuff and all of the drug trafficking and things like that. And I'll never forget the day that I set foot off the airplane up here in Anchorage. I was just absolutely shocked. I was floored because I came back to my home state after 10 or 15 years I had been gone. And it was absolutely saturated with everything that I tried to get away from. It was flooded. Flooded with drugs, flooded with gangs. I started ingratiating myself into the community. We call it the Sub Rosa community, which means under the rose, right? The hidden community. And man, the kids, 15, 16, 17 years old, they're all using needles. They're intravenous drug users. It was absolute heartbreak. Where are the parents? I do not know. And sort of along the way in my prison years, off and on in places I traveled, I'm a spiritualist, and one of the things that I studied along the way was Masonry. And, we had little clandestine lodges and used old books to work through the degrees and things like that. So for some reason, it was something that was interesting to me. And being back in town, I'm hearing from these youngsters that, hey, this guy has girls over at his house and he's molesting them, or that guy. Sort of in conjunction with that, at 15th and Gamble here in Anchorage, and you can drive by that on the way out of town, there's a little Masonic lodge with a little caretaker's house next door. And I used to walk by that place, and I found it interesting because we took our little clandestine practices very, very seriously. And how we sat and how we dressed and all that sort of stuff was really important to us. And I would walk by, and their lawn was not regularly mowed. It was just disheveled with weeds coming up, and I was very disappointed by that. I don't know why. I just thought if you're involving yourself with higher-minded practices, you should always remember the little humble things. So the guy had an old mechanical lawnmower nailed to the tree. And once a week or so, I used to pull that push mower off the tree, and I would mow the lawn for him. Well, one afternoon, I'm mowing the lawn, and he comes out of his house, the guy that built the caretaker's house. Yet another time in my life, he's got one leg. He's a veteran of 2 world wars, has a giant white puffy dog, and he sits on his front porch and beckons me up. And I sit down next to him, and he tells me, well, this is not verbatim, he tells me a number of things, but he basically tells me that he appreciated my work ethic, and that there was a couple of pillars that needed to be torn down in this community. And he sort of gave me, not sort of, he gave me at least one of the names of the people that I visited. And it's just interesting how communities are aware of what is going on within them. Even a super old man at a house just randomly who encounters you, is aware of your heart and what you are or are not willing to do. And anyway, that's how I got one of the names. And that guy in particular owned a really expensive house right on the lake by the airport. And he was convicted of molesting a 10-month-old baby. I think it was his granddaughter. He was currently the youth music leader for the church he was associated with, was having kids come to his home in the now. And that definitely is one of the people I visited. And I don't know if it's snapping, perhaps it is, but just as a continuation of an off and on life practice, coming home and just seeing the veracity of it in this community, it's amazing. I think the state of Alaska has like one of the highest rates of sexual assault or child abuse.
So it says SA continues to escalate through this country, and the hardest hit continue to be indigenous women and girls. Results from the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey issued by the Center for Disease Control, CDC, states that 21% of women reported completed or attempt rape sometime in their lifetime.
Surprisingly, 2 or 3 or 4 of the names that I got when I went and checked on the registry, there they are, and they're registered sex offenders, which brings to mind the question, why are they around kids now? So, for instance, one of them was convicted of raping his own daughter.
What's his name?
I won't say his name.
Oh, no.
But it's public record. But he had a daughter with his daughter that he was convicted of raping, which is particularly vile. And he was babysitting and interacting and holding that child now, which is against any sort of protocols that he had as a result of his conviction. Where was the state? I do not know. Why was the state not aware of that? I do not know. Incidentally, also what I found as this practice, proliferated a little bit, the state does not have the resources to make sure registered sex offenders are at the addresses they say they're at. So a number of times I went places to find someone to speak to them, knock at the door, and it's a completely different family that's there. Well, where is so-and-so? They don't know. He's not here. He's gone. So that's another issue that came to light, as a result of my practice is, they are running amok everywhere, and 50% of the time, I would say, they're not at the address that they say they're at. Yeah, well, I was very particular in these interactions. Like, for instance, no gun, no mask, no knife. I mean, I could have gone in there masked up with a pistol and taped them up, tied them up, done whatever I wanted to, but I was very specific that I wanted to go face up, no gun, no weapon. I wanted to interact with each one of them hand to hand, like a man would do it. And again, you have to realize that as dramatic and horrifying as it all sounds, imagine being a little kid. I didn't get visited by a dude with a 2x4 one time. I got visited by a guy with a 2x4 100 times, more than 100 times. I got molested 50 times. So for me to go run into a child molester and open hand, slap and backhand his face 50 times and give him a lesson about molesting kids and then leave, to me it was extremely apropos and very righteous and super on point. And I didn't see why anyone would have any issue with it. I didn't see why other people were not doing it. I suppose it's important to note that every single thing I did and where I went was for very personal and private reasons. There were individuals that were directly affected by these people, and I wanted to do something for them. When I was a little kid, if anybody would have given a shit and kicked the door in and beat the brakes off the dude that was molesting me, I would have given a cheer. I would have believed in things greater. Slap and backhand his face 50 times and give him a lesson about molesting kids and then leave. To me, it was extremely apropos and very righteous and super on point. And I didn't see why anyone would have any issue with it. I didn't see why other people were not doing it. I suppose it's important to note that every single thing I did and where I went was for very personal and private reasons. There were individuals that were directly affected by these people, and I wanted to do something for them. When I was a little kid, if anybody would have given a shit and kicked the door in and beat the brakes off the dude that was molesting me, I would have given a cheer.
That part.
I would have believed in things greater than myself and miracles and all the sort of stuff they were trying to teach us in church. But that never happened. I was taught that your neighbors don't care about you and that your neighbors do not see any of the bruises. Your neighbors, your community will not step in to help you at all, ever. It won't. And I mean, to compound that belief, what I will tell you is your community will show up to condemn you. If you do something wrong or break the law, trust and believe. The court and the judicial system was immediately there to take the rest of my life away, for sure, real quick. There is an ocean of us, people that have survived child sexual assault. There is an ocean of us, and sadly, the primary byproduct of being assaulted as a child is isolationism. We separate, we isolate, we don't communicate what's happened to other people in general. Certainly not as we get older. It's not something that you're going to say at the dinner table when you meet new people. So we remain separated from the group. So it's very important to note that all of us together, we are much greater and much larger than any system or any system of justice that is currently in place. Survivors of child abuse, we are enormous. There's an ocean of us, and if more of us had the ability to speak out or file, change legislation, change laws, et cetera, then trust me, the predators would be a lot less confident in their predatorial behavior because they would be very concerned with 10 or 20 or 50 of people like me showing up to handle the business. It would definitely change things. So it's something important going forward. But to that end, there was one night that I was going to go visit somebody. It was a child pornographer. It's one of the ones I was convicted of assaulting. And there was a couple of girls. There was actually a couple of young guys there too. Also, strangely, most of the tough guys, if they were around, and I said, "Hey, bro, you want to come with me? I got to go visit this dude and tune him up and give him a little sermon about not molesting kids," they would be like, "Oh, no, bro, no, fuck that. I'm not going with. I don't want to go." But in this occasion, there was a couple of girls.
So I think in some cases, it's the only way to get justice. And unfortunately for those of us who who are victims of crimes and have never seen the perpetrator punished, or punished so softly that it is maddening. It really does tend to take away any sort of faith in that system, if you had it in the first place. It's sometimes it's the only way. The heart of Alaska is its people, and the people are people, but even beautiful people can be broken, so it's got its issues for sure, and a lot of it does have to do with the isolation. And it's not a coincidence either that we have one of the highest violent crime rates, like per capita. We have very little people here.
They were very excited. Yeah, we want to go with, for sure. And so I brought 2 girls with me, and they came, and I remember the night we went to see this guy. Again, he was in an apartment complex, and I was knocking on his door, and he didn't want to answer. It didn't seem like he was going to answer. And really, right in the moment, I sort of started jimmying with his lock to see if I could get it open. He opened the door, and I immediately, grabbed him by the shoulder and the chest and pushed him backwards into a chair in his living room. And I told the girls, listen, man, whatever this dirtbag has, it's yours. Whatever you want, take it. He owes you everything anyway, so go ahead. And I assumed they were rummaging through his stuff, looking for anything that was valuable. Again, because in my opinion, convicted child molesters and child predators, they owe us everything. The fact that they're still here breathing our air and able to victimize other kids, to me, is just shocking. It's amazing.
Would you say another point you were trying to make was to instill fear in these people?
Absolutely.
In the community?
100%. Absolutely. I don't think anybody can disagree, psychologists, psychiatrists, or otherwise. Fear is the greatest deterrent for someone with this particular psychological disorder. It's just not possible. They need to be scared to go act on their instincts. That's just the bottom line.
Well, I mean, I knew what was going on, and I was pumped about it because, like I said, the criminal justice system is just fucking corrupt, and it's a joke.
It's truly sad. I mean, it really is when you think about the totality of it and how massive this problem really is. It's disgusting. It truly is. It's truly sad. And I don't think a lot of people really, and that's why I'm trying so hard to get through this damn thing. But I think it needs to be heard, man. I think people need to, and I think some people live in a state of ignorance for the sake of bliss, and they choose not to really take a hard look at how bad this really is. And I hate to tell people, but this is a huge problem in this country, in this world, but in this country especially. And there's a lot of sick fucking people out there that get their rocks off on doing disgusting things to innocent people. And it's fucking sad, man. It truly is. It's sad.
Up here, I think I got dropped off with them, with Ashlyn and Lucky, and we then went to, well, okay, so I know that there was, I'm not sure if Lucky disclosed this, but there was another, a fourth party that was also a part of this, but they were solely information. They were the ones kind of doing the research on the on potential leads to the scumbags. I'm part Alaska Native. I pass for white, and like I said, I've always expressed myself through my fashion and whatnot. So I don't have a hard time for people to open up the door for me. So that was basically like one of my first roles. I was the gateway, to an open door, So yeah, I knocked on the door. The guy answered, and we went in and we told him, this is what's going on. You are, the worst of the worst.
When I went to his home that night, his windows and his doors were all locked, and his master bedroom light was on, and I was knocking on his front door and his windows. He wouldn't answer his door. He was ignoring me completely. And I kept knocking and knocking for 45 minutes or an hour, and it's sort of telling. If I was just a regular, ordinary citizen and somebody was randomly pounding on my doors and windows for an hour at night, I would have probably called the cops immediately if I was that sort of person. So it's sort of telling that he did not. So I went back to my car. I had my tool bag in my car, and I pulled out a hammer, and I had a small backpack on, and I smashed out the side light by his front door, and I climbed inside of his house and went in, and it was a fairly large spread. And as I went back towards where I thought his bedroom was, there was a couple that was staying there, and I saw them coming out of the door. And I had seen his picture, so I knew what he looked like. And I told them, get back in the room. This doesn't have anything to do with you. And they sort of backpedaled and shut their door. And then I went around to the master bedroom door, and he was trying to shut it and like barricade himself in his room. So I just, boom, kicked the door in, went inside. And I mean, it's kind of funny because when you see mugshots and you see a picture of someone when you're going to see him, what I failed to do was look at a height and weight demarcation. And this guy, man, I come in the bedroom and I'm like, this dude is a big dude.
He said he went in there and this motherfucker was a monster. Literally a monster.
And so I'm telling him, man, get on the ground. He doesn't want to comply. Also, it's important to note child predators, child monsters, they are egotistical and narcissistic, judgmental people in general. And you could see that energy coming out of him right away. So I let him hit me a couple of times. And that's when that sort of energy was invoked inside of me. And I honestly, I reverted back to a childhood state because weirdly, he looked very similar to the guy that had adopted us when we were young. And I remembered that I had that hammer in the backpack. I'd set it on the floor in between us, and I just reached down and pulled it out, and I cracked him one time in the collarbone, and that dropped him on the floor. Then I hit him 2 or 3 more times, I think. And really in general, if I remember correctly, leaving his house, I didn't know if he was alive or dead. I really didn't know. I didn't go there to kill him by any means, but afterwards I didn't know. And as I'm leaving, probably the people I told to go back in the bedroom had called the cops, because as I get to the end of the street, they showed up right at the exact second and got me out of the car, kept me handcuffed outside for a very long time. I saw the ambulance and the fire truck go by, and I was sort of standing there coming to terms with, thinking to myself, like, man, I wonder if he's dead. I'm probably going to prison for the rest of my life. And
did you think you were going to get arrested at all, like ever, when you were doing it?
Didn't care.
Oh, you just didn't care?
Didn't care at all. No, didn't care. You have to realize, bro, when I was 8 years old or 10 years old, standing in the courtroom, well, they sentenced the man that had just molested me to 0 jail time to serve whatsoever. I had already lost my life. My life had been taken from me, and that's what child molesters do. They take your life from you. And knowing it had already been taken from me, honestly, again, it's a societal issue because it's a dangerous thing to have people living in your community whose lives have been taken from them when they were kids. Because they grow up, it's a sad thing, but you don't care about yourself, you don't care about consequences. Trauma does really damaging and powerful things to your frontal lobe and causes it to not grow correctly, so you don't respond to things correctly. But no, in the moment, I didn't think about being arrested at all. I would tell you.
You know, it's so true, man. The effects trauma have on the brain and the ability to grow. Or when you have a parent who used drugs when they were pregnant with you, or whatever the case may be. Things that cause, you to not mature the way a normal person may. And it's so very true. The effects that trauma has.
That it took a lot of effort on my part to invoke the anger necessary to physically manhandle somebody like that.
We're not even we're not even an hour into this. I don't even know how long this goes for, man. I'm gonna try to get through this, man. This is difficult to watch, but we'll keep going. Let's continue.
But once I did it once, it's in there. Like, it's in there from when you were a child. So I mean, like, in this interaction with him, I was sort of taken back to being a kid. And I'm telling you right now, when you're standing late at night in the house with a 6'5" or 6'6", 350-pound child predator, it's not a fight you're gonna lose. Like, I'm not fucking losing this fight, period. So, but yeah, it took a great deal of effort on my part to invoke that sort of anger. Like I say, I'm not a mean-spirited person. I'm not a violent person. I don't enjoy fighting or beating people up. That's not my gin. And certainly there are plenty of people that do enjoy that stuff. But I run on intuition. I feel like in my lifetime I've been guided by energies other than myself, and I don't mean that in a creepy or weird way. I mean in a very direct and literal sense. I have found myself directed to the right place at the right time a number of times. I will tell you practically, if you're going in someone's home that is a child predator and you have no weapons or anything of that sort, you have to be very on point and careful, because they obviously have a house full of potential weapons there they could use on you, knives or a gun or whatever. You have to be aware of that. Usually my whole intended purpose would be, honestly, to open their consciousness by inflicting a little bit of physical pain and then deliver a message that sort of behavior is not going to be tolerated in this community. I mean, I was born and raised in Alaska. It's my home state. It's where I live. And then to come back here and these people are just comfortable and confident to victimize children, it just blew my mind. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So, and I really think it's important to note that the only answer to this, do I think there should be all-out vigilantism and people running around punching other people in the face? Probably not. But there is a fourth mode of response, which is the most important mode of response. Unfortunately, we've been conditioned out of it for a number of generations. You know this, all your friends know this. His friends know this. There's three modes of response that we know. We call a stranger, first of all. If there's any crisis or anything is wrong, we go to the phone, we call a stranger. And we call what? Ambulance, fire truck, or cops. That's what we do, call a stranger if something is wrong. The fourth mode of response, which is the most important mode of response, no one's even aware of it and no one does it, and that is community response. If your house is on fire, tell your neighbor, and he shows up with the garden hose and buckets of water. If someone is injuring a child, the neighbors should be aware of it. The community response is the most important one of all. And most of us are not even aware of it. It blows my mind. So going forward, one of the things that I've been working on in here is all of this is about advancing the practice and advancing your perspective and your understanding of the situation. So clearly, I cannot advocate for people to be all-out vigilantes and tracking down on assaulting pedophiles. But what we've been working on is an app or a platform that connects communities to each other, their own members, something of an SOS type app or a community crisis response app, so that neighbors are aware. For instance, when I was a little kid, I remember showing up for soccer practice, and my legs were so bruised from being beaten with a 2x4, I couldn't run up and down the field. And rather than the coach recognizing that that is a kid in the middle of an intense child abuse situation, I remember him telling me, next week if you show up and you don't run like everybody else, you're going to be kicked off the soccer team. So you need to get your shit together and start being more athletic. And as a little kid, you don't know what to do when the people around you literally see what's going on and they don't speak on it or acknowledge it in any way, shape, or form. So I think if we develop some way, somehow, very practically, the fourth mode of response is community response. And interestingly, there were some places I would go visit a condominium park, and there would sort of be the tough guys that, you know, sort of keep track of the place and know who's there and would stop somebody if they're breaking into cars. And they would run up on me and ask me, what am I doing there? And I tell them, well, bro, there's actually a child pornographer that lives up there, and I'm going to go visit him tonight, so I'm just letting you know. And they'd be like, oh, man, this is so great, man. I'm glad to see somebody. Man, we've been waiting for something like this. And in fact, hey, man, give him the name of that one guy that was fucking with that one girl, and they'd give me another name and an address to go to. So I'm just saying a little bit of communication and communities being aware of what's going on within them is the answer to this. Some of the moments of self-awareness and clarity that I've had, I resented the system and I resented the laws that were in place. A good example of that would be, I'm currently doing a long prison sentence. So I have childhood trauma and PTSD that I should be addressing through therapy. I've got it paid for. I'm someone that's willing to do it by telephone or whatever. I start asking the administration, can I get a Skype once a week with a therapist? Denied. Can I get approved for a phone call once a week for teletherapy? Denied. Point being, currently, believe it or not, where I sit, I am not allowed. They're actively blocking me from seeking or receiving any childhood trauma therapy, no PTSD therapy. I'm not allowed to have it or participate in it while I'm incarcerated. However, if I was a child predator, I could move a couple of mods down from where I live and I could go to child predator classes and be released from prison early in the next year. So,
and that's what's so disgusting about it is, you know, there's so many rehabilitation programs offered to these PDF files in different states, some who are more sympathetic to them as others and consider it to be a sickness, an illness, that these weirdos like to go out and attack innocent children. You know, I call bullshit, and I don't care what they think it is. You don't harm children. You don't harm innocent women. I mean, you don't. Yeah, it's wild, man. And then you have somebody that's an addict or somebody that, you know, has committed crimes in the past because they, you know, they have an addiction or whatever the case may be, and they don't get any type of rehabilitation. Or maybe they just have anger issues. They don't get any type of rehabilitation. But they'll offer these people all kinds of programs and incentives. It's disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. And he's so right. What he's speaking is facts.
this is very, very important for people to understand that still to this day, the system that we live with to this day is built to facilitate child predators. And it's also really important for your generation to understand no system is built by accident. Systems and factories are not built without purpose. And what they like to do is say, oh, well, yeah, we don't know how it got like that. It's weird. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. I don't know how that happened. But I'm telling you, in your state, when you fly over one of Elon Musk's factories and you see this building and this building and this building, and you wonder, why did he build that factory? What I do is I look at what comes out the end of it, and I'm like, oh, shiny new Teslas. That's what he built the factory for, to produce those. Similarly, look at your system of justice. Look what comes out the end of it. That is what it was designed and built to produce. Look at me. This is what it produces. Tattooed up guys with very little hope for success. It's built to keep the warehouse full. It's built to release child predators quickly. And I'm telling you, I'm living the experience. Literally, they're telling me, God forbid we let you out because another child predator might get hurt.
And I want to. So look, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop playing that. And I'm gonna put the link in the chat. It's also in the description below. We're about halfway through. We're at the 52-minute and 38-second mark. And it looks like it's 1 hour and 52 minutes long. He's absolutely right. And I want to make this abundantly clear. You know, even though men might not come out and talk about it, and rightfully so, because it's an embarrassing thing sometimes for some people, and I get it. But the more people that talk about it freely helps more men come out and speak about it. But there are so many men behind those walls that have been assaulted when they were young or abused. Fatherless homes. It's just the norm in there. You know, every once in a while you'll get the offshoot of the guy that had both parents and they had money and everything else. But the majority of the people you meet in there are going to be people that came from hardship and poverty and abuse, trauma. It's just the facts. And I find it so weird that I don't find it weird because I know I believe in my heart that I got to be careful what I say on the channel nowadays because I'm trying to get out of that dunce corner, if you want to call it that, the YouTube dunce corner. But straight up, I mean, most people that are in there have endured great hardship, and they utilized whether it be drugs or anger or whatever the case may be to try and figure out a way to mask the abuse and the pain and what they felt. It's a common denominator amongst people that are locked up. And shame on anybody that tries to throw shade on this man. That's why I did this. That's why I did this right here. That's why I made this live. And I'm not going to name names, but people know who I'm talking about. Throw shade on this man for what? Because he's speaking truth and you don't like it for some reason, which is kind of bizarre to me. Like what has this man done bad? It just blows my mind. And that's why I wanted to make this live and speak about this man. This man's out. He's doing good. He's trying to spread the word the best he can without getting himself in trouble. Now remember, this guy is out on parole. Like he's got guidelines. He's got rules and regulations that he still has to abide by still. Like give the man a fucking break. I see you, baby. I love you, honey. It's just sad, man. It's sad, and it's sad that these people get so much fucking love, man. And you know, I showed the other night, I got my certificate up there from Blackstone. You know, I got certified as a paralegal. A lot of guys did. It's not nothing special or anything. A lot of guys, you know, I paid for it. You know what I mean? And I took the 2-year course, you know what I mean, and put in the work and utilized what I learned. But still, a lot of guys get those diplomas in prison, and it's not like it's a you know, not a common thing. So it's not like anything to really brag about, but it's something that I did that taught me a lot about law. And when I was in the law library going through case law and studying and trying to help people win cases or win their appeals and get land, the oldness we're getting, trying to get land at every prison we were at and so forth. Um, Amongst that, you would have to read case law sometimes that would be disgusting. And then you would see the deals they would get. You would see the time they would get. And then you would think back at the time you got for fucking, like I got for a fucking burglary and Grand Theft Auto. And then an in-house case, possession of an inmate manufactured weapon, compared to somebody who touches a child, inappropriate, hurts a child, and they get 4 years with halftime. That means they do 2 years if they don't get in any trouble. Like, what the fuck? And that's the bizarre, weird kind of shit that you would see that would just infuriate you. And that's facts, Jamie. There are adults that have, go through abuse as well, man. But anyways, man, I'm going to shut this down. This has been a rough one to watch. Again, please go over and show due diligence to the original uploader of that video. It's in the description below. I also dropped the link in the chat. Go over there and give them a like, a subscribe, check out their content. I appreciate them allowing me to use that on here. And I'm not going to be uploading anything today, but tomorrow I'm going to be uploading something a little more lighthearted. And I'll give you a brief little tidbit of what it is. And some people may have heard this story before. I think I told it on a live, but I had a cellie that sleptwalked, and I didn't know it. And I'll just leave it at that for now. You all can run with your imagination. But I had a fucking cellie that sleptwalked, and I had no idea. I had no idea until I was rudely awoken one night. And we'll get into it. But you guys will find this one fucking hilarious. But needless to say, me and him did not stay cellies very long. But and it was quite a surprise when I learned. But you guys will hear the full story in depth tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a funny one. And I'm also going to be talking about the day I came home soon. I think that is something that's, people could hear and need to hear. The day I came home and getting to see my grandmother and my uncle, my little brother and stuff. But that was definitely a interesting and joyful day. But I hope you guys have a blessed Saturday. And man, don't let anybody steal your joy or your happiness. That's yours to keep. And don't let anything or anybody steal that from you. And until next time, man, deuces, everybody. You guys have a good one.